Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Whatever time you're catching me, and this upload is all right. Happy Wednesday to you guys. Happy Wednesday. So, as you know, for the people who's just coming here, hello, thank you for stopping by. If you don't know, I speak on things, news, give you the real things, not this wishy washy news, maybe allegedly they give you. No, I go to the facts. I try to bring it from the horse's mouth most times and things that I know, you know. So it's never to uneducate somebody about something, is not to give you my views and tell you this is what you need to think about all things. I'm just trying to ask people things like, do you see what I see or do you don't know? I don't know. So I guess I'm gonna do a segment called "This You Must See" or "Can You Reply?" Do different things so I could include you guys, so I could hear different views. Maybe it's just me. So this guy's been threatening everybody. Oh, the protesters! I'm gonna put them as terrorists. Signing a whole bunch of bills. Oh, if y'all sit down and look at the bills he's been signing, why people been protesting, dying, from all this. Please, you'll be shocked to be like, oh, really? Like, he couldn't go on Twitter, right? So they was playing him, and he was tweeting like raceful and racial things and rhetoric and just going crazy, like how I'm renting. I mean, I'm gonna break some words down. I guess I'm going a little too quick. Let me take a breather, real quick. I didn't even know how to approach this because this guy right here, this this sandwich moldy, left out on the side. Even the people who fell from grace from their homes because, things happen in their lives, didn't even want that. They ain't even eat in 3 days and they still want to pick that sandwich up and eat it. That's the type of guy. He's been threatening people, is this, moving the Indians, going to Mount Rushmore, throwing more racials. You know? Bubba Wallace got to apologize. What? 2 weeks ago, they left a noose, and the FBI said noose, noose, noose 47 times in the reports and kept on saying that. But the guy is so humble. Bubba Wallace forever. Colin Kaepernick, like, y'all are the pillar of this community. That's why I say you're the new people that people need to go ahead and beat. Listen, who are these rappers? Who are these NBA players going back playing for the Masters? Who are y'all? Y'all just say things out your ass, just for the time and moment, and then the gas, pass the blast, pass the ball, pass the rock, pass all of that. Slam poetry right now. Sorry, I got ran off for a second. Because see, y'all can't even stand up and be the glory. You're lost in the cause. Yeah. So he's been threatening people. Do what I say. Do what I say. You're better. You're better. And his people saying, no, it's these people that's doing it. I'm like, look at him. He's stopping them. He's telling them that they're asking for too much to keep the kids safe, right? But he wants the school to be open, and he's going to make sure that the governors and the people know, and they better do it. But he don't want the precautions because they are too expensive to protect our children, our future. Yeah, the innocents, the ones that's gonna eventually someone's gonna catch it and die from it, and it's gonna spread and systematic. It's gonna keep going on. And he says, if we forget about it, it'll go away. Something that's so crucial. So I just want to see how many parents give a damn about when they say, I will die for mines, if they will die not to send their kids into a gas chamber, because that's what he wants to do. He says, CDC, you're asking for too much money to save these children. No, pack them in. Look, I've been to the rallies. The people's been fine. They ain't even wearing no masks. And the Karens out here having a temper tantrum. And they saying, I don't want to wear no mask because it restrict me from breathing. And I want to spread this to everyone. Now you're saying the schools must reopen or you'll stop their funding. Why? I'm just saying, Mr. Sandwich that don't want nobody want ya. Oh my gosh. So I'm just going to play this for you guys. And please protect the children. When the fuck does it stop? I mean, I'm Speaking to all the people that support me, y'all know how I could get silly, but I'm still just speaking the real me. When is this gonna stop? When we gonna say enough is enough? Are we going to help save the children? Are we going to save the children? I know every child in my family, my community, will be saved, though. No, no, no. When it comes to the kids, that's when it's time not to play, yo. You understand? If you give a damn, that's when it's time not to play. You can't threaten people, threaten governors, threaten CDC when they say we want to protect them when they go back. You saying it costs too much money, but you ain't giving no money out. But to the people who already have money, right? I mean, come on now. I'm going to play this for you guys and listen to this news. So if you got kids, listen to what it do. Y'all have a great one. Because right now, I'm pissed off. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have kids. Do you not understand? It's like sending your kids into the gas chamber. That's what you're all going to do. If you ever allow your kids to go back and he do not follow what CDC says about what the kids should do and what the states should do, and if the state said we're gonna do this, he shouldn't say no, I don't want that. More kids, more kids. Put them in there. When we just found out over the summer that just started that kids is dying more and more now. And you had a whole rally. Yeah, go back. Like, you don't care about nobody, but I care about the kids now. Like, do y'all care? I mean, we care, right? Because he don't know. When it comes to the kids, don't play that bullshit out here like y'all playing games. I mean, that's why I said the NBA, the NFL, y'all ain't even get Colin Kaepernick back in. When he left, I left. When he kneeled, I kneeled. I cried when y'all didn't even stand. Y'all stood by and was like, ha ha. Like, y'all still over here playing with the master. For the master, send boas. That's why I say I'll be an Uncle Tom every day. They beat him day and night, a slave, because he wasn't snitch. I'll beat him every day. Go ahead, your send boas. Go play your master's games. Don't stick together. Don't talk about that I can't breathe on your t-shirt, bitch, because you ain't doing shit for our brothers and sisters. Okay? Y'all better stop playing around. Y'all better save these fucking kids' futures. Y'all playing like clowns. Oh my God.
The president tweeted out this morning that he disagrees with CDC guidelines on reopening schools, calling them tough and expensive. And he says that the CDC is asking schools to do very impractical things. He's also now threatening schools nationwide that he'll try to cut funding if they refuse to reopen on time. Here's how he put it yesterday.
The schools will be open in the fall, and we hope that most schools are going to be open. We don't want people to make political statements or do it for political reasons. They think it's going to be good for them politically, so they keep the schools closed. No way. So we're very much going to put pressure on governors and everybody else to open the schools.
Everyone agrees getting kids back in school is hugely important and a top priority, but how to do that when there are now rising cases in 35 states is a puzzle no school administrator has yet to figure out. Joining me now is the former Secretary of Education under President Obama, Arne Duncan, to talk about this. Secretary, thanks for coming back in. First and foremost, I just want where your head is right now, and do you think schools can open in the fall?
Well, Trump has been just catastrophic in his leadership and has made himself totally irrelevant in this conversation because of what the federal government hasn't done. Everybody, every educator, every parent, myself as a parent, we all want our kids to go back to school. But we can only do that if it's safe to do so. And we as a nation simply have failed to do the things that would make our schools and our communities safer. And so what we have to do now in the month of July is make those small sacrifices to give our children a chance to go back to school physically in the fall. We have to wear masks. We have to stay away from the beaches. We have to stay out of the bars. We have to not do the indoor dining. And if we're not willing to do that, we're going to rob our children of a tremendous opportunity. I desperately want us to go back to school this summer, to start now and make up for the loss of learning during COVID. But we as a nation simply haven't done those things that other nations have done. That has cost us, unfortunately, thousands and thousands of lives, and is now costing our children really important learning and social and academic opportunities.
You would be the one person, one among few, who would know this very specifically. Can the President of the United States cut funding to schools nationwide?
No, again, he just bullies, he threatens, and the truth of the matter is, very little money for K-12 comes from the federal government. I wish they were really investing. They didn't put, they didn't put any real money into the stimulus package. And so, he may try and bully or bluster. Everybody wants to go back to school. We have to do it in a way that's safe. I think most schools will probably try and open in a hybrid situation with certain children going, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, maybe Saturday, maybe morning shifts, maybe afternoon shifts. This is going to be very, very complicated and complex. There'll be certain children where it's not safe for them to go to school at all because they're living at home, maybe with a grandmother or grandfather that's very much at risk. So we're going to have to accommodate their learning at home. There may be certain teachers who can't teach. And the flip side of that, they can't teach in a physical environment, or have to teach virtually. But you also may have certain children who their mom or dad may be an essential worker where they need to be in school every single day because it's not safe for them to be at home. And so we're going to have to think through all this stuff, community by community, school by school, grade by grade, and do it with an unbelievable level of thoughtfulness and compassion.
It is, what you just laid out is just even a slice of it, right? Just the schedule of it. It is complicated. It is complex. It is different school district from school district, school to school even. It is not an insurmountable challenge. School administrators can do this. Teachers can do this if they are allowed to put their heads together to do this. But I'm also wondering, when you hear the president criticize CDC guidelines of safe reopening, calling them expensive, can you make this complicated strategy work with less money, without more money?
Well, folks have called for a huge influx of resources. And again, the president just is fundamentally dishonest, disingenuous. He has lost all credibility on this issue a long time ago when he said everything would be open by Easter. When he was telling people to take Lysol. When he said this thing would magically disappear. So no one trusts him. No one's paying him any attention. But to your point, superintendents are working on this unbelievably hard, are working this together in a thoughtful way. Everyone's helping each other. But yes, the federal government must invest in education. We have to be safe. We have to have masks. We have to have the ability to test frequently. We may have to put in place, plexiglass shields around desks. Hallways are going to change. Food, everything's going to be different, unfortunately. Like you say, this is going to be one fall, just one fall. We have to do this the right way for our kids, for our teachers, for our principals, for our parents at home. This is our common humanity. It's never been so clear, hopefully. And unless we're willing to do the right thing, we're going to rob our children.
But I will say this, though. You've said that he is irrelevant. He's kind of made himself irrelevant in this conversation. But people are still paying attention to what the president is saying. I'm hearing from mayors that the messaging coming from the president is hurting their efforts, not helping, because it is confusing. So what is your advice, then, to the governors, to state education commissioners? Are you saying ignore the president and go it alone?
No, they're not going alone. They're working together. And again, the leadership at the local and state level has been fantastic. But if anyone is listening to the president on this issue, they're doing it at great peril to themselves and their community. And as I talk to school superintendents around the country, as I talk to principals, as I talk to state school chief officers, no one's paying any attention to what he's saying. They're trying to actually problem solve at a level of complexity and detail and honesty that he has no interest in. No one's paying any attention to what he's saying. They're trying to actually problem solve at a level of complexity and detail and honesty that he has no interest in.
I have so many more questions of things I'd like to go over with you, Secretary. Let's continue this discussion. This is the preeminent important topic to be discussing in the coming weeks as we head towards the possible reopening of some schools in the fall. How to do it safely, how to get it right. You can really, as you said, just like we saw with many communities, but especially with schools, you've got one chance to get this one right for the safety and health of our students, our kids, and the teachers who are standing at the front of the class. Thank you so much for coming in.
Trump is increasingly on an island when it comes to his race baiting and divisiveness, themes he's tripled and quadrupled down on, as polls continue to show him trailing Joe Biden, leaving him even further isolated from the nation he leads. He attacked African-American NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace, and NASCAR, typically Trump-friendly territory for him, came to Wallace's defense. He defended the Confederate flag while the Pentagon was busy drafting a policy that would ban Confederate flag displays. Colin Kaepernick, a previous and frequent Trump target, just signed a production deal with Disney. And as the Washington Post reports, even Trump's own party think he's endangering their chances in November. Quote, on Capitol Hill, some Republicans fret, most privately, to avoid his wrath, that Trump's fixation on racial and other cultural issues leaves their party running against the currents of change. Coupled with the coronavirus pandemic and related economic crises, these Republicans fear he's not only seriously impairing his reelection chances, but also jeopardizing the GOP Senate majority and its strength in the House. Donna and Claire are still with us. Donna, I'm just amazed that these folks talking to our friends at the Washington Post still do so anonymously. The best thing to do for themselves, for whatever remains of the GOP, and frankly for the president as well, is to speak up and try to get him to, it's too late to change course, but to shave off some of the ugliest, nastiest edges of his message.
Well, I mean, for them, either to speak up or to get out. I don't really know what point they serve if they're in an administration where they don't really share the president's views and they think he's going the wrong direction, but they don't have any capacity to really say anything about it or to change his behavior. I mean, that would be the argument for saying, is that you could change the president's behavior. But look, this president is baked in, Nicole. I mean, you've said this so many times over the course of your many months of shows during this presidency. But the strange thing is that for a guy who really, views himself as somebody who can tap into where the public sentiment is, that clearly in this phase, he really has not at all. And in fact, he's, sort of digging the hole deeper and deeper, as though he really does want to burn the house down. And maybe that's because he knows that he's losing and that all of these polls are showing exactly what his polls internally are showing. And so therefore, if he can't have it, then burn the whole thing down. It is a classic sign of somebody who doesn't care for the American people, but really just cares for himself.
Claire, the thread that I keep trying to pull in my own head is, what does he want? Because if he were still the host of The Apprentice, which seems like an apex life experience for him, he'd be fired for espousing these views. I mean, he could not go back to entertainment. He could not go back to television. His comments about coronavirus got Trish Regan fired from Fox News Business. I mean, he's now not only out of step with the public, he's non-commercial.
Well, here's the thing. He believes that he knows best. He believes he became president because he understands politics and this electorate better than anyone else. And no one is going to convince him otherwise. And he's wrong. He's wrong about why he got elected and how he got elected. He's certainly wrong in thinking that he can keep preaching to a shrinking base and win this election. What I really think is interesting, Nicole, over the last few days, you're seeing some backing up of some interesting folks like Lindsey Graham taking the side of NASCAR in terms of banning the Confederate flag. Roger Wicker from Mississippi saying it was the right thing to do to take down the Mississippi flag that had the emblem of the Confederacy on it. You have Mitch McConnell going out of his way to preach the gospel of masks and wearing masks. So you're seeing some of this. And although they have to be very careful, because if...
Sorry, I had to pause it. I was trying to pause it. They're only doing this because it's re-election time. Look into them too. Get them out of here. They're the one that propelled him. All the people who propelled him, can we vote them out of here? Because they have only terms. They're not permanent like the people he put in Congress, all into lifetime positions. Please, can we get these people out? Maybe, we'll have the Republicans in there that actually want change. But they have the Confederate Republicans that's there that's saying, nope, we're not going to do this. So they have to just, they outvoted. I can't beat them. I have to join them because we're in the same party. Okay, that's it. Get those guys that just mentioned out of here.
Lindsey Graham were to actually show disloyalty, then he's really in trouble in his election. All these senators that are in trouble, if they lose even 2 or 3% of the Trump base because of disloyalty, they could find themselves out of a job. So they really are in a box canyon.
Couldn't happen to better folks. Donna, it is still remarkable, though, to hear Claire describe it as a risky strategy for Republicans like Lindsey Graham and Wicker to take cover behind NASCAR and Mississippi. I mean, it just shows how out of step Trump is, not how evolved either of them are.
Well, I mean, I think that's right. I mean, here's the thing that, you know, for folks like a Lindsey Graham and a Mitch McConnell, they worry about whether they can sustain losing that 1 or 2%, and they worry about the president going after them. And this is where I think that the Republican Party, to me, these folks don't really want to rebuild the Republican Party, because if you did, you would not be traipsing up behind a Donald Trump who's out of step with 70% of the American people. And so I don't know what the end game is here, but it's not, you're not going to work out if you're trying to tread in both camps. You're going to have to pick a camp, and I think that's the place where Lindsey and Mitch find themselves now, is that they don't have a camp to choose.
Exactly.
Claire, I just want to go back to the Mount Rushmore speech, because I think the look back on Donald Trump's political life, whatever November holds for him, will always include a footnote about that address and the invocation of the word fascist to describe the left and peaceful protesters. It's very much in line with, and it almost sort of corroborates the decision to use to militarize and federalize the police forces, pushing out peaceful protesters from Lafayette Square. I mean, there are through lines through all of Trump's conduct in recent weeks.
Well,
police forces pushing out peaceful protesters from Lafayette Square. I mean, there are through lines through all of Trump's conduct in recent weeks.
Well, it really reminded me of his inaugural address. I'll never forget sitting up there and listening to that speech saying, this is so dark and weird and ugly. And, your former boss, had a very colorful phrase. That was some weird, what. I think he went back to the same speechwriter. I think he went back to Bannon and Stephen Miller. Certainly Stephen Miller's fingerprints were all over that thing. It was dark. It was divisive. And here's the thing that was most frustrating for, I think, a lot of people who listened to it. He was calling peaceful protesters fascists and thugs and accusing them of indoctrinating our children. And then he had the nerve to invoke Martin Luther King Jr.'s name. If there ever was a man who stood for peaceful protest and progress and change and getting to that equality, that elusive equality through peaceful protest, it was Martin Luther King. So shame on him in calling peaceful protesters and then using Martin Luther King's name in the same speech. It's unbelievable. And it will go down, I think. And the irony is, the people that support him thought it was a beautiful speech. That just shows you how far we have fallen.